All right, we continue to bring you reaction to President Cyril Ramaphosa's address tonight, and this concerns the Easter weekend. Religious gatherings have in fact been expanded. More people allowed indoors, 250, outdoors 500, but the off-site sale of liquor has been banned from Friday through Sunday. Let's get an economic reaction with economist Azar Jamin. Azar, great to have you with us. As always, give us a measured economic reaction to what the president said.
I think it's fairly favorable. I don't think it's really going to make a huge difference. It's neither here nor there. I think it is sensible that the government does maintain social distancing restrictions. And clearly the banning of sales of alcohol over the Easter weekend are directed at preventing carnage on the roads, and also preventing a lot of hospitalization due to trauma experienced by people from alcoholic disputes caused by people being under the weather.
Sure, although taverns still open, on-site allowed, and I guess people can stock up beforehand. What about provincial travel? There were some people saying, please don't stop that because of tourism, and the president saying, look, we don't encourage movement, but that will be allowed. So that is a relief for the tourist sector, surely.
It is very much a relief for the tourist sector, and frankly, it could have inflicted a lot of economic damage had the tourist sector been stopped from actually traveling over this period. So one is very grateful for that.
I guess... Do you think government is bearing in mind the lack of funds? Government saying earlier that it couldn't even continue with that social grant. So every response from here on in has to consider that the social relief that is required to respond to the response is not always there.
I think the overriding factor, you're absolutely right, there isn't money to provide the kind of relief that has been given to consumers and households in developed economies. But the other overriding view, in my opinion, is that the detriment, the damage inflicted on the economy by the lockdown levels 5 and 4 that we saw this time last year was so draconian that the costs to the economy far outweighed the benefits in terms of limiting the virus. And in fact, soon after we had the spread of the virus, we had the lockdown levels lifted, we saw the spread of the virus. So all it did was really just postpone the evil day. And I think the government has now come to realize that there is a significant trade-off between the economy and the extent of lockdown restrictions. Conversely, what we saw in the second half of last year was as lockdown levels consistently came to be lifted up, we saw a significant recovery in economic activity. And we've seen developments in economic growth bearing very much dependent upon the level of restrictions. So there is a direct correlation between those two.
So,
and
I don't know if you heard it, but I'd love to get your response then to a different view that we heard earlier. Dr. Neva Machetla came on and said that in fact countries that have had very hard lockdowns, that have prevented the spread, prevented things like a third wave, they've actually recovered better economically when things have opened up. So she was actually advocating for harder measures to prevent anything like a third wave.
Well, you may well have had a situation where we had a big recovery from a very hard lockdown, but the fact is that we do not have any signs right now of this coronavirus spreading like wildfire in this country. On the contrary, we have a very, very benign situation in South Africa currently compared with the rest of the world. The ratio between our infections and those globally has fallen dramatically to an all-time low since the virus actually started out. So I really cannot see why one should start hammering the real economy still further and creating renewed hardship and unemployment at this stage to do so. And I think the government has acted in the correct manner, maintaining certain restrictions, trying to maintain the psychology of trying to fight off the virus whilst not killing off the economy any further than it needed to.
All right, thank you so much for your response. That was Dr. Azad Jamin from Econometrics. He's chief economist there. Let's go back to our political analyst tonight, Sandile Swana. He was saying earlier that he's not sure the religious sector has really articulated ways to combat the virus whilst enjoying Easter. And of course, there are other religious festivals as well over this weekend. So let's get his response. And then we are hoping to speak to Lucky Ntamane from the Liquor Traders Association. Of course, they have been asking, as usual, please don't lock us down because of the hard impact of the previous hard lockdown, rather, on liquor sales. All right, Sandile Swana, your response. Let's start with the religious gatherings not being limited, but actually expanded 250 indoors, 500 outdoors for the weekend.
Yes, I think it's a bit of an improvement, but you must bear in mind that what this is the context. I mean, if you look, for instance, at Soweto, there are gatherings that would fill up the Orlando Stadium for Easter celebration. If you look at Moria in Limpopo province, it would be hundreds of thousands of people who go there. So 250 for the average congregation is really a very good number for the average church in South Africa. But for the big Easter events, yeah, it is actually irrelevant.
Okay, so you think this is a rational response given where we are, a low infection rate, but the possibility of super spreader events over the weekend?
Yes, absolutely. The thing about this, I think obviously the president doesn't go into all details of the logic. Level 1 by the government and the state, when they declare level 1, the virus does not declare level 1 on its side. The virus is equally active, and people moving and people congregating is what spreads the virus. So you can't say that the current level of infection rate tells you much, because your own behavior can change those figures overnight.
All right, I don't know if you heard the EFF. What's your response to them? They said this was pathetic because it's not protecting South Africans. In fact, they accused the president of wanting to harm South Africans by allowing liquor sales to remain on site Friday, Saturday and Sunday. And I guess you can go and stock up ahead of the weekend anyway.
I think that the EFF retired from this discussion long ago. They've not been able to offer any concrete solution. The closest they ever came was to support the vaccines. And the issue of vaccine is a long-term strategy, let's put it that way. So on a day-to-day, we've got to practice health and safety on the one hand, and on the other hand, you've got to deal with the economic pandemic, if I may even use that word, because this coronavirus has impacted every single economy, including ours. So I believe that the comments by the EFF concerning the liquor industry, there are other things that have got to be done. But for now, I feel that the president has been very fair to them.
All right, let's see if the liquor traders agree with you. Please stay with us, Sandile Swane, our political analyst tonight. But for more reaction, I'm now joined by Lucky Ntamane, convener of the liquor traders formations. Mr. Ntamane, so off-site is not allowed, but on-site sales are allowed Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Are you happy with that?
Good evening, Francis, and good evening to Mr. Swane and also viewers at home. I appreciate the opportunity. We are grateful to the president for having allowed us to trade. We did not take this opportunity lightly. We feel that as a liquor industry, we have got a role to play in supporting government's efforts in making sure that we fight the COVID-19 pandemic together. We have noted the 4 days that the president has not allowed off-premise to operate over Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. And we've listened to his reasons. We've got a different view. But, I think at some point, we need to really be reasonable to him and also, give him space to make decisions that he feels are best for the country. He is the president after all, and we respect him for that.
And the government has given South Africans time to stock up this time. You can go shopping over the next couple of days.
Yes, indeed. We also welcome that this was not on an immediate basis, which allows also the off-premise to prepare themselves and also maybe give their workers some time off over that 4-day period so that they can have a well-deserved rest. And we hope that this decision will not hit their bottom line. But we are a resilient nation. I'm sure we should be able to come out of this unscathed. But also we are grateful that taverns will continue to operate. We have seen their behavior in the past 8 weeks that continue to seek to support government's initiatives in how they conducted themselves. We have seen very minimal activities that points to super spreader events in that space. And we like to commend and also encourage our liquor traders to continue such behavior in making sure that over the festive season, we're not found to be on the wrong side of the law. We're not found to be, in conflict with government's agenda of making sure that in this festive season, we are able to prevent the third wave, as it were.
Let's talk more about that because we've been speaking to experts, Professor from the University of KwaZulu-Natal tonight, saying that is the big deal here, the possibility of super spreader events, and you are so integral, the whole chain links to restaurants and what happens there. Some become huge parties as the night goes on. So that has been a huge concern. You're saying that entertainers, that taverns, that restaurants are conducting themselves well. They're taking this seriously.
Yes, indeed, Francis. But we're first to admit that we will get rotten apples. Those that seek to distract from how we are behaving, how we are supporting government's initiatives. I need to hasten to add that before we are business people, we are citizens of this country. And the call by the president for us to ensure that we take the bull by its horn and make sure that we conduct ourselves in a manner that ensures that we fight this COVID-19 pandemic together. We take this responsibility very seriously, and we are aware that there are those that seek to go their way, and we'll be reporting those to relevant law enforcement officials and to various liquor boards. We are working very closely with the relevant law officials in various provinces to make sure that we are able to tell those ones that are not following the line back into line, to make sure that we are not blamed as the alcohol industry, or do not found to be on the wrong side of, how we conduct ourselves. But I'm grateful, that our liquor traders have heeded the call in the past 8 weeks, and they continue to trade and treat themselves in a way that best supports government efforts. I have no doubt that we are going to continue in the best behavior as we head towards the Easter weekend.
All right, thank you very much. Convener of the Liquor Traders Formations, Lucky Ntimane. Let's go back to Sandile Swana, giving us some political analysis. So, Sandile, we've looked at the measures, but what about the vaccine rollout? That's something that a lot of the political parties picked up on. Again, criticizing government for talking about numbers, but giving no clear targets, no clear timelines, saying this is all pie in the sky, trying to achieve herd immunity. I mean, the president did say we could still reach targets, but how is the question?
This is the difficulty that has been repeatedly warned. This government has been repeatedly warned against. Some of the people who've been warning this is the former statistician general, that when it comes to numbers and accuracy about numbers, comparability of numbers, our government is lacking. I mean, I even read the statement that came out of this weekend conference that they had. Again, you could not pinpoint the things that they were talking about, even about COVID-19 and the vaccination program. And I went in preparation for this interview to their website to see what are they saying exactly. It's hard to pinpoint the dates. When are they going to finish? Which phase? There are phases, but exactly when it's going to happen, and what quantity, in what time. And when they say they are on target, again, in what way are they on target? Yes, that's a valid criticism across the board. in everything, in most of the statements, let's put it that way, that this government makes.
Yeah.
So right now, you and I are not sure. For instance, you yourself sitting there, you don't know whether you are going to qualify for a vaccine in August or in July or in February next year. You don't know, and you should be knowing.
Yeah, you are so right. And again, let me repeat a question I asked another guest earlier. Is that fair enough, given that the manufacturing capacity is still being built up? I mean, Aspen still has to start making those doses. Hopefully it'll go very quickly in the Eastern Cape. But that's what's happening all around the world. Capacity being built up and countries competing right now for vaccines. In that context, can we give the government a bit of a break, or can we say, no, look at what's happening even in other African countries where they're doing better than us? What's going on?
I think your last point speaks volumes. In many disciplines, South Africa is no longer the leader. For instance, in the planning about the vaccines, the northern African countries, whether it's Algeria and others, have done better than us. Now, the issue of developing capacity for production and distribution, even the logistics side of that, with today's technology, you can predict to the day when certain things will be ready. That is why when the first load of vaccines was coming to the country, they could say it will arrive at 3 p.m. and it arrives at 3 p.m. By such and such a time, it will be in Bloemfontein. They could do that. They started well, and then they lost control of the program. So we cannot be...
Having said that, Sandile, I do think the health minister gave Parliament some firmer timelines earlier. So should the president be speaking in those very definite terms when he's addressing the nation?
I'll put it to you very differently. I'm sorry to be personal, but for instance, my father was in his 80s. He doesn't know when he's going to get vaccinated and is anxious to be vaccinated. Yeah. So what is the story?
Yeah. No, that's very...
Why can't he know? He phones his doctor. He said, talk to your doctor. And he says, my doctor doesn't know when I'm likely to be vaccinated. And I want to be vaccinated. So I don't know what more can I say about
that. Finally, does government risk creating a reputational problem for itself if he continues to talk about reaching targets, about heading towards herd immunity, but with vague timelines, and then we don't reach it, and we don't even get there sort of well into next year? Is that a potential problem here for government?
Well, poor performance is always a problem, and the poor performance of government is a serious problem. But hopefully, the other measures, and he made this point in his presentation this evening, that South Africa has been helped by the health and safety measures more than the vaccination. So if somehow we are able to keep the health and safety measures in place and the rate of infection very low, there's still that chance that we could still do well and survive until the vaccination program is into full force. So I'm not yet panicked, but he cannot, because his main weapon is actually the health and safety measures. The vaccination program is not really convincing at this stage. What is definitely convincing, as he said so himself, are the health and safety measures.
All right, thank you very much, political analyst Sandile Swana. We may chat to him again, and we will get a response from Bishop Malusi Mpulwana from the South African Council of Churches. Let's see what they have to say about the restrictions. Actually, an expansion, 250 people may gather indoors over the weekend and 500 outside, and that's an improvement from the church's perspective from the previous level 1 lockdown restrictions. Stay with us. We take a short break.